Howdy, howdy, party people, and welcome back to Counter's Casual Competition Chunks Treasure Edition. My name is Counterfeit. I bring you all the action here today in our micro tournament. For any of you folks who are coming to us for the very first time, firstly, welcome. You have come at a very strange time indeed, because we are closing out the set. We have not leapt onto the PBE in its abbreviated form, but instead sending set 12 off with something of a firm handshake and a kick on the butt out the door with the world's most wild game mode. But don't worry, we'll get into that in a second. Still, a lot of the tournament is going to work pretty much the same as usual. We will have ourselves 3 rounds of play, and as you can see on the right hand side, we're really playing for fun here. So we've got some small prizes. A lot of those prizes will be going to random players in the competition rather than the top performers. As you can see here, first and second place get the prize, and then, in fact, we need to update this with 3 random players getting 575 RP. So, overall, we're going to be having 3 rounds of play being played today. I'm kind of jumping around a bit to give my producer a real headache as to what is being shown when, but the long and short of it is 3 rounds of play. It's match play between rounds, so if you do well, you'll play against other players who are doing well. If you do not so well, then you'll be switching things around. And then, of course, we've got the tiebreakers at the end, because with this being such a short tournament, we do need to try and find our winner one way or the other. But fortunately, general friends, it's not just me along with you here today. I've brought in an expert, a certified DG, to explain it to us exactly how Chunks Treasure is working. Welcome to the stream, GG. How you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm having a very fun start to my Sunday, a very productive start to my Sunday, and I'm also very happy to be on broadcast.
So I'm just going to drop your deets into the chat at the moment. But Delegates, again, thank you for coming back and joining us again for the umpteenth time. So let's get a little bit into what we've seen today. So again, still the kind of overall structure of the tournament remains the same. 3 rounds of play, matched up depending on how well you're doing. If you hit the top of the tournament, you can guarantee a prize. If not, you might still get a prize anyway. But the Chunks Treasure mode is going to be the biggest change here. So let's start talking about what the elements are at play here. So it's worth bearing in mind from the very beginning that there are a lot of things which, if with what we're about to discuss, we think, wouldn't that not be broken with X or Y? That has been addressed ahead of time DG, have you encountered any edge cases where you think they maybe should have disabled something which they haven't?
So I think overall it's fairly balanced. You know, the things like it's displayed here, having certain portals disabled, certain charms disabled is very nice. One thing that I will say is, in one of my games I managed to encounter a 3-star Morgana who had copied slash taken every single 5 cost off of the board, and I had a Pandora's, and my 5 costs were not transforming because that person had bought out every single 5 cost from the pool. So that means the Chunks treasure can get a little bit funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're jumping ahead a little bit here as oh yes, just a word for our producer. I think we'll try for let's see, we've got four tables playing here today. Let's maybe we'll start off with maybe table 3, if that's okay. But yeah, sorry, to come back to what you're saying, DG. I think one of the biggest things coming in here with Golden Remover, kind of like more of a minor thing.
Yeah.
But the random 4 or 5 cost starting champion, I think, is the bigger part of what you were talking about there, which is, for clarity's sake, everyone's getting either a 4 cost or a 5 cost. But I know that there are, on the line below, Briar and Morgana especially have been modified somewhat because, on the face of it, having one of those from the beginning of the game seems ludicrously powerful.
Yeah. So to jump back to what you're saying, it is a 4 cost or a 5 cost for everyone. So you're not getting cheated out by Mordog. Either everyone starts with a 4 cost or everyone starts with a 5 cost. If you do get Briar or Morgana, so there are some tweaks happening. So for Briar, you lose less Tactician's HP. However, Briar also gains less HP. For stage 2, it's 1 HP with 60 health. Stage 3, it's 2 health, 120. And then stage 4 onward, it is the same. For Morgana, I believe that she cannot copy the higher cost champions in stages 2 and 3. And come stage 4, she returns back to her normal state.
Yes, because, as you said, otherwise we'd be ending up with people having 2-star 5 costs extremely early on into the game. So another thing, of course, is as Riot also want to do whenever they have a custom game mode, a lot of the time it is just more stuff. And that is definitely the case here. So after every carousel, Chunks coming in, throwing a whole bunch of things at people to push more power in. I'm assuming we're going to be seeing items, gold, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, quite a bit. Chunk shows up after every carousel to drop off a bunch of loot, and you can have champions, champion duplicators, artifacts, radiant items in there as well. Spatulas, frying pans, you name it, Chunk has it. And also another thing that you mentioned, if anyone has played the revival of 5.5 or the revival of 3.5, you know that once you go below a certain HP, you get a blessing from the game, and Chunk has also been enabled to give you a blessing once you hit below 50 HP or 45 HP. I don't know the exact
50
time
50
around
in this
that.
case.
Okay,
Yes, I
so
know it does vary. You're right, sorry, I forgot to pass that along to our producer to put that in our kind of highlights of the mode, because there's just so many different rules that one got left on the wayside. But so with this all said and done, just catching up a little bit on the chat, Scornpools is here for the 3-star Briar and 10 Eldritch. As you said, with these new orbs coming in, with the spatches coming in, hitting those high verticals seems very, very possible. Blonde Unicorn saying Chunk is for people who want everything in their burger. I think this will be a very everything burger day. And Pills saying we both look lovely. Wow, thank you. I think we do as well.
Big shout out to Pills. Resident casual counterfeit player. I believe he's played in almost every single one. Only missed out on like one tournament.
Yes, definitely. As much as we appreciate the new people coming in, I think it's definitely worth recognizing that the casual competition just wouldn't exist without the mainstay of players who've been playing in a ludicrous amount of these events and contributing a whole bunch just by their presence. But let's talk about some of the players who've got the history coming into the event. So we've got a whole bunch of different players coming in. We've got 5 players who are merely former champions in Hampus Yerka, MZ Squampy, and one who I'm going to move to a different category. We have got a couple of different multi-time champions coming in, leaving an anonymous one. Statistic, thank you for letting us know. Apparently the stream's a little on the quiet side, so we'll see if we can get that sorted out. Thank you very much. I'll just post that in the chat for producer as well. But yes, sorry, back to the players. So we've got multi-time champions, leaving an anonymous one in there, including, of course, anonymous with the duos champion success. We've even got our helpers, who are some of the wonderful people who volunteered to take on more work on the server and help out people who are lost, which is Blonde Unicorn and Yuki. But, Deadly Ghost, very excitingly, we have got an adherent of the Church of the Golden Egg here as well. Yeholin, Northern Legends Swiss champion, one of the few players who's managed to cash out a golden egg live on stream.
Well, it seems that this tournament is very high in quality, I would say, Counter, because, we have half of the players being, basically half of the players being former champions, a Northern Legend champion. Also, I believe I am also one of those rare people who has cashed out the golden egg in the casual tournament.
Oh, I didn't even check for you. If that's the case,
yeah,
I will apologize for not recognizing you.
However, it hasn't happened on stream yet, so that's why I do not have the title.
Okay, yes. That's what makes it even rarer. It's hard to it's hard to cash out, but it's even harder to be on stream with it. Oh, thank you for the clarification, Blonde Unicorns. Okay, so we're a little bit mismatched in terms of volume level. So just for a producer, the Deadly Ghost apparently a bit louder than myself. But thank you very much, guys, for letting us know. I know that the, a lot of times that would not be the case when you're watching a stream. So very much do appreciate. So again, we'll be heading into our first round of play pretty darn soon. Once more recap, since we've had a lot of chatting since then. 3 rounds of play done through Swiss, and our first round table is here. So we're going to be seeing one of our server helpers and Yuki Renner playing in this one, and of course Pills we saw in the chat before also taking part on. I think we've got ourselves a good round 1 to work with.
Yeah, this is a very interesting round. I am very excited to see a couple of these people. We have a lot of our regulars in Pills, Yuki, and Percival, who. Well, Pills and Yuki are also members of the I believe it is called Lobby 7 crew.
Oh, it's a secret, DG. It's a secret. Don't reveal the secret. But you're right.
Secret society.
Yes.
Almost.
For anyone who's coming like for the first time, you may not be aware there's a dark underbelly to the tournament. A cult, perhaps you might even say, if you were getting overexcited. But we'll come back to that later on. We'll see how well Yuki represents, because our tournament is about to begin. Chunk's Treasure, for the very first time here, encounters Casual Competition. We shall see how it goes, because I suspect it's going to get pretty wild.
I mean, call them LeBlanc, because Lobby 7 might as well just be the Black Rose.
And thank you. So apologies if the stream quality is a little bit off, because I thought I had checked this was the case, but apparently I got it wrong. That we cannot actually use the regular spectate feature for Chunk's Treasure, so we're probably going to have to do a lot of work with people's streams. Thank you for our producer, Noodles, for being flexible in that regard. So we'll be hopping around the place, somewhat at the mercy of where our players decide to go. But also thank you to, I believe it's Statistic, for providing this stream in the first place. So let's get things underway, and DG, we do see one of those extremely powerful 5-costs coming in, because it will be a 5-cost lobby, but you can see Snoop here has got the Morgana from the beginning of the game.
Well, this is going to be a fairly interesting stage 2 and stage 3 for them, because a Morgana can always copy champions, so she's very very good for the economy. And you have to have a good economy if you want to do well in Chong's treasure. Despite him being a very helpful big Chongus. Sorry, I had to do that one. Despite him being a very helpful big Chongus, you do have to look after your economy, and Morgana is certainly one of the ways you can do that, because you can especially copy champions that can either fit your board or high cost champions that you can sell for money.
Oh, if I'd ever made that piece of content about Scholars, I would be like, Scholar Emblem on Morgana is super, super good. But will be rerolled here. Raining Gold. That's an interesting choice here. So, if we're talking about the bigger picture stuff, TG, I wonder how powerful will we see these, economy augments be, given that for Chunk's Treasure, a lot of extra resources are being pumped in by the game itself.
Yeah, so the game does give you quite a bit of money itself, quite a bit of resources. A lot of gold, a lot of items. However, we do see right now that Snoop has managed to go to 20 gold, to 20 gold himself, and is going to do quite good in the economy department. And as we're seeing, the first augments, we have Patient Study, Prize Fighter, Martyr coming in, pumping up as well. So we have a fairly diverse round of augments, and ooh, yeah, and that's one of the things that we just mentioned about Morgana being nerfed. The bats right there killed the Zerat. However, they did not copy the Zerat, because otherwise that would be a very strong board for Snoopy.
And yes, so I guess this is a good chance as we go forward that the... Oh, that's right, yes, I forgot the about the whole advert thing. So we're going to have to take an ad break at some point during this to be able to remove ads going forward. So I will snooze this for the time being, but we need to take a 3-minute ad break in a little while. I should have set that off at the beginning of the stream so we didn't have to worry about that. But for anyone who's watching now who has the capability to stream, we have been bamboozled by Riot, as I said before. The spectator mode, which I guess I actually did check to see if worked for Chunk's Treasure, has apparently been disabled. So if anyone can put out a stream to let us view their games from, please do so for games 2 and 3, and let Wet Noodles know that is the case, because otherwise we're going to be very limited by... Apparently we've only got a couple of streams going at the moment, so we very much appreciate the people who are streaming right now, but if you've got the capability to do so, even if it's at lower quality, we would very much appreciate you giving us a hand out in these trying times.
Yeah, well, it's only... I think it's understandable why Chong's Treasure would be disabled in Riot Spectator mode, especially because new mode, a lot of bugs can happen. Spaghetti code breaking and all that, and but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So, thank you to everyone who is streaming for us. Thank you to everyone who is providing their view, and hopefully we can see quite a bit of players' gameplay.
So this is a chance to kind of open up the conversation more. As Dolan the Greatest, thank you for the follow. Hello, I appreciate the enthusiasm in the chat. So of course we've got a limited point of view compared to what we'd normally be seeing. So I think we may just have this one POV in this stream. So we can't necessarily go around and scout everybody's board. But we have mentioned before this point, Morgana, Briar, those are the two which have the kind of the obvious strength. But From the other 5 costs in the pool, would there be any particular ones that you would think are maybe more low-key powerful in this mode to start off with?
Well, technically, Smolder is also a champion that you can use because, well, let's wait for a second because Chunk has dropped his first treasure, and there is a Nasus being dropped, and that this is shaping up to be a little bit of a preserver witchcraft board with a couple of shapeshifters coming along as well. So I'm very much interested in seeing how this board will develop for Snoopy. But yes, um, like I was saying, Smolder can be very powerful because you can get that 3 dragon very early on. Another 5 cost that you can utilize very efficiently is the Nora, in my opinion, who's a little bit underrated. But if you can get if you can get her to three mage 3 portal, you can start off with a very powerful board. And we're already seeing 2 Smolders facing up against each other, but it does seem like a BML is the better of these Smolders.
So let's take stock of where we are then in the lobby. Coming close to the end of stage 2, do see our POV player managed to get the win. I believe we've got just one player who's on full HP, which is one of those smaller players, BML 17, currently ruling the roost up there. We'll carry on that conversation in a second. We'll have to check. So we've got Kurama and Weehan down at the bottom, having taken a fair amount of damage, but it looks like we don't have anybody having taken so much damage that I'm reading that necessarily as a full open fort, but I think BML is certainly the player to watch from this point forwards. From a POV player, we're seeing a little bit of rearranging, and up against Anonymous One, the other Smolder player in the lobby.
So yeah, looking at it, we are seeing a couple of different boards coming in. Some people leveling up to level 5 and level 6 early on for that win streak. However, Anonymous One has definitely dropped the ball when it comes to the win streak. He has picked it up right now with that prize fighter. You do want to get as many wins as possible. So Anonymous One taking that loss there earlier on was definitely a big hindrance to his first augment choice. And Snoopy is they're fidgeting with their placement quite a bit.
I mean, this is one of the things which I guess we got to think about going into stage 3. You mentioned, stage 2 and 3, the Morgana and the Briar are both somewhat temporarily nerfed. I think if I was in Snoop's shoes, I would still, I think, be trying to get as much value out of the Morgana as possible, because you mentioned, while she can't copy the higher cost units, she can definitely copy the lower tier units. So, if she's the focal part of the composition, I can see that being very profitable, at least in the short term.
And she is very, very strong still, and she can have quite a bit of she can have quite a bit of an influence on a board, especially because as a unit, Morgana is very powerful herself, and you can get that early preserver going on like Snoopy has with the Bard. You can have some early power, and you also have the ability to flex your board in a couple of ways, because she is also a witchcraft and a preserver, and we know that preservers can be a secondary trait to a lot of comps. So it doesn't have to be a person going for witchcraft preserver. They can alternate into something different, like you said, the scholars. If you go for the scholar emblem, you can go for 6 scholars. Morgana be one of your frontliners. So there is quite a bit of flexibility possible. And
hold the phone.
I'm hoping we
I
see
think
it.
we're about to see a recombobulator going forward, because the Morgana is being moved off of the board very deliberately. Alright, here we go. What have we got? It looks like we've got a 2-star Fiora in the mix. You're talking about Witchcraft before. That's a pretty solid pickup there for Snoop.
And you also have a Briar.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible. 2-star Fiora, a Briar, a Morgana. You're going to have 4 Witchcraft soon. And well, Counter, I think, you know, this might just be a little bit of a high roll, you know, just a teeny tiny bit.
Oh, and thank you to Blonde Unicorn again for getting us a second stream to look through. So we'll be catching up with what Blonde Unicorn is doing in the lobby overall. But yeah, the Silver Augments coming in looks like they've had a pretty different experience, as we see Snoop on the other side there. On this side of things, though, Blonde Unicorn, we saw the Scholar Emblem being passed from Snoop's side of things at the very beginning of the game. But Blonde is a believer. So it's not only gone for patient study with Emilio, but also late game specialist. And I'd have to imagine that while economy is going to be plentiful, the chances of Blonde Unicorn getting to level 9 in Chunk's Treasure are much, much higher than normal.
Yeah, so because you have because you have a lot more opportunities to have economic growth, especially because Chonk loves to drop off a lot of gold and treasure, you are in a fairly good position to get to level 9 and level 10 very earlier. And also there's always the opportunity of Milio dropping some gold for you as well.
That's true, it's very rare, but if it does happen early on, that's going to be absolutely massive. So let's take stock of where our two players are, because DG, they are in very different positions in the lobby coming onto the next carousel, of course, our next chunk drop. So Blonde Unicorn, we can see up at the top on 54 HP versus Snoop on 80, means that while Blonde's got a lot of good late game potential, he's gonna need to start turning things around sooner rather than later.
That he does. And also I see Sugarcraft and I see some Scholars, so if Blonde Unicorn can field in this Zillion, they're going to have a Reserver as well here, so hopefully we get to see some gold to help him out. As I say that, we see... Oh, wow. It's a man.
You couldn't have done too much better than that.
No, don't think so. You can have a Bard too, you can have a Galio too. Well, basically, you get an upgrade, you get an upgrade, you get an upgrade. It's like Oprah here for Blonde Unicorn. Oprah is here showering him with gifts.
Yeah, Blonde Unicorn wanted to make sure we absolutely recognize this Milio as a beast. So then it becomes more important where the rest of the items are, because I think it took me a while in the set to even realize the sort of Milio item passing logic. You can see there that the reason we're seeing Blonde putting a couple of components on his champions rather than full items is because Milio will prioritize putting items on the units that have the most components / items on them. So some very canny play from Blonde Unicorn there, but he will still lose the round nonetheless because the power of the lobby continues to be off the charts good. Another Mana Zane coming in from Snoop, and Snoop does seem to be on a journey to the top of the lobby. I can only imagine we're seeing the effect of that Briar coming in, that Recombobulator, absolutely game-changing for Snoop's trajectory in the game.
It definitely is a game changer, and also the thing that we have to be aware of is that Snoop has 4 Witchcraft and a couple of Shapeshifters, and that's a big shield at 3/6, which I did not expect.
Alright, we'll see if Snoop can keep up the stream, head up to the streak rather, while providing us with the stream. You talked before about the Smolder. We've got the Mana Zane in there. Apparently we've got Mana Zanes for... I don't know if that's actually for everybody, but we're certainly seeing a ton of them. It looks like the board is not quite good enough, as Snoop will keep hold of their streak. and run out of this one. The Ari's doing a good amount of work for a 2-cost in an environment which is so flooded with high-cost units.
Well, yeah, because so the mana Zane there for BML was present since the start of stage 2. That was the first drop that he had. However, we do have a very good board for BML, and Snoop is slowly but surely starting to rack up those wins. And like you said, Diari with the mana Zane gets to cast much more often. She gets to have a lot of those orbs because she does stack those orbs a lot more. And once you see her have like 10-15 orbs, you're like, oh, that's a scary champion.
Well, speaking of scary stuff, Blonde Unicorn, as we talked about before, is trying to turn the corner. Remember, with a late game specialist in place, so we've got the cash out immediately to refill the coffers after going to 9. So 4 Vanguard and 4 Scholar. Certainly the 4 Vanguard frontline picking up a lot of popularity towards the tail end. I mean, DG, what's your diagnosis here? Are we feeling optimistic about Blonde Unicorn's chances of turning the corner?
I would say that we should just let the Milio talk because, well, look at how much damage this Milio is doing. To be fair, this Diana is also making a very good argument for herself, and I think that the Diana might just have it in the bag because she's doing quite a bit of damage, but the Smolder is doing so much, and wow, that was very close up until the end.
I think having Millie delivering the Giant Slayer there made a pretty big difference, all said and done. So we've got our last augments coming in. It's going to be gold, silver into gold. I have to imagine at this point, given that, you know, with the Chunks treasure mode giving us so much economy and items, we're going to be seeing a skew towards, I thought we might see the, you know, some of the support items which we'll be seeing coming in from the bottom of our screen right there, and just other ways to fill in the rest of your composition.
I mean, we do see gold, silver, gold. However, it's still a very powerful lobby. You know, Chunk is giving us quite a bit of money to help us out. So it's not like you don't have an abundance of units and gold to choose from. And I want to point out Blonde Unicorn, as you know, as powerful of a drop as late game specialist is. You do see Blonde Unicorn still be at 50 gold, still have quite a bit of health, and Blonde Unicorn might just get to level 10 come next round.
Yeah, and I think with Blonde Unicorn being as low as he is in HP, but still maintaining this much gold in the bank, it feels like that's exactly what's on the cards. Because, you know, bear in mind, we don't have a Scholar emblem with Blonde Unicorn. It's possible that Chonk will provide a frying pan, but we're getting actually pretty late into the game to be able to then have a tier spare to shoot for Scholar 6. I think overall, Blonde Unicorn is more or less in the place of being, this is the board we're going to be playing with maybe just a little bit more power forthcoming from hitting level 10.
Yeah, I think when it comes to level 10, you're kind of banking on hitting some. You're kind of banking on hitting something that's going to be really powerful for your board. So I'm thinking maybe something like the Morgana to help you out with that Preserver, also get you to that.
Ooh.
Wait, Zoe
Well, that's
is
a
out,
big
so
win for Blonde there, up against Furinagi, who they're going to drop down into just above 30. In fact, it's a good time with DG to take stock of where we are as to come to the next carousel and expect the next chunk drop. Is BML, who's been dominant from the beginning, and Snoop, our first POV player who has been rising up. They've more or less stayed at the top of the table. Blonde Unicorn has stayed in the middle, but several players have dropped below where Blonde Unicorn was before. Remember, Blonde originally right down at the bottom, now several players below him.
Yeah, so Blonde Unicorn has started, going a little bit up in the ranks, and because he is one of the rare people that are going to try and go to level 10, it is going to be wow. And he gets a Morgana drop, which is something that can help out with the Preserver board. So basically, sorry, a bit of help coming in.
So we've got 5 costs coming in and a duplicator as well. We can see on the right hand side of the board, we are getting people hitting their 2-stars. This feels like this is extremely high variance, because if you get a duplicate of the, one of your 5 costs you've been playing since the beginning of the game, and a duplicator, that's an instant 2-star 5 cost. If you don't, and you get something else, then you're pretty far behind the curve.
Yeah, you're basically forced to go for to go for the 2-star for the 5 cost. But it's not the end of the world if you don't hit it, if you have a very decent board. Like, for example, you see here, Snoop having a 1-cost Zerath, has a Camille waiting, and the Morgana there, and he's going up against Kurama's board that has this Pyro Emblem. However, it's still not enough, because Zerath, Fiora, Morgana, they deal quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and you have to imagine, with how much in the way of resources we have here, that it's always going to be the case of, legendary suit boards are going to be very, very powerful overall. Blonde Unicorn has some choices to make here, has hit level 10, so should be able to bring online some pretty powerful stuff. I guess the question is, which kind of flavor of legendary soup are we going to go for here? Because certainly in set 12, there's a decent amount of utility to be found in a lot of different places. Zerath will be the choice here. It's, DG, I do notice as well, Blonde Unicorn, while he's managed to maintain his HP well enough, he has just lost his streak as of the previous round, so he's pretty much out of cash until Chonk provides again.
Yeah, Chonk. Basically, you're banking on the Raptors helping you out quite a bit, or getting a big drop from Chonk, and it does seem to not be happening for him right now, because he's going up against 4 Chrono board that is doing so much. However, it does not matter, because just hit seems to be the name of the game for Blonde Unicorn.
Well, I suppose this is another concern which isn't a part of a normal game of TFT, is that we've got so many 5 costs being taken out of the pool and being thrown around the place, being gifted to players en masse as well, that presumably upgrading your 5 costs by normal rolling in the shop could end up becoming pretty difficult if other players have gotten there first.
Yeah, and you have to be. I did not enjoy that sell on the rise, especially because Blonde Unicorn wants to have that rise too, to help him out. But what I do enjoy is him getting a potential Rage Plate, and we are going for the Zerath. Doesn't matter.
So this is an interesting board, DG, because when we looked at it initially, 4 Scholar something seems to suggest that we're going to be building around Rise, but Blonde hasn't really done that. It seems like we're heavy on the Milio and the Bard rather than the Rise. And now we seem to be going into Zerath as well, who, of course, doesn't benefit from the Scholar. What do you think about the long-term chances of Blonde in the lobby, if, assuming he can get his 2 stars online?
Well, looking at this, I think Blonde Unicorn is going for a 5-cost soup board, and I think it's going to have to be a lot of 5-cost upgrades that are going to have to come in, if you don't want to basically force play for that Briar. Because
I do believe we've seen our first elimination. Firanagi, I think that's a -12 for them, being taken out first in a lobby. Of course, it's extremely volatile here, with this being a Chonk's Treasure game mode. We can see players like Snoop, who's actually managed to take pole position in the lobby, bringing up all of their 2-star 5 costs, and we got the Radiant items coming in as well. We've got a needlessly big gem to chuck onto somebody at the back end, but overall, yeah, it seems like you're exactly right, GG. We're kind of devolving into Legendary Soup at the end, and it seems like a lot of people are relying on Xerath to be their primary damage dealer.
Yeah, a lot of people are going for the Xerath. However, I I don't see a lot of people going for the Morgana, so Snoop could potentially the the chance of just going for that Morgana, helping out, uh helping him out quite a bit, because Blonde Unicorn is the only other person going for a Morgana, and he's soon to be eliminated. And even then, ooh, that's a very good drop. Uh,
Oh,
he's going
okay.
to skip.
Wait, we're
He's going to.
1 Milio away from Milio 3. Could we be seeing You Gotta Do It? We've got the Milio
Oh
3
my
in our
God!
first game of the tournament. Chunks Treasure provides Milio 3. Blonde Unicorn on 10 HP, 1 life from dead, finds exactly what he was looking for.
No one was going for the Milio, and I was going to say Snoop has the chance because no one is contesting his Morgana outside of the one that Blonde Unicorn has. But now the Milio has come in, and that Milio has a Mana Zane. So that just means bigger drops, a lot more damage, and Blonde Unicorn is at the forefront of trying to win this game. And we were talking, Counter, about how it is much more likely to see a 3-star 5 cost. However, I didn't expect it to see in our first game.
So, for clarity on what Milio 3 actually does, so normally Milio will throw out 2 items and then 2 allies and then 3 damaging kind of knickknacks to enemies. That goes up to 8 when it comes to Milio 3, so he's providing pretty much your entire board with an extra item, and then also hitting 8 different targets for 1,000 plus damage. So this should be game-endingly strong as you would expect for a 3-star 5 cost. But something more important is that... Wait, we've got more coming in! The blonde... Wait, no, that was... Okay. That wasn't a Rise 3 coming in as well. I believe that was only a Rise 2.
It was a Rise 2, yes.
Okay, I got a little overexcited for a second. So to go back to what I was saying before, the Blonde Unicorn made a point of saying in the chat that you, Deadly Ghost, had pronounced his demise just before this happened, which I think was a completely valid thing to go for. But now Blonde Unicorn's on the path to victory. But no, Snoop has hit a 3-star Nora as well. We shall see a battle of the Titans here, GG.
We will be seeing a lot of 3-star 5 costs happening. We will be seeing a lot of infighting. People will be contesting each other, right? Once these 3-star 5 costs have come in. And I was full on expecting Snoop to go for the Morgana, because no one was contesting it other than him. But excuse me, there is still a champion duplicator for Snoop, and he hit Nora just like that.
That's absolutely wild. I mean, you've got much more time to work with when you are being dominant in the lobby, and certainly Snoop has been in that position. Anonymous One has moved into command spot, though, on 40 plus HP. So we've got 2 different players with 3-star 5 costs in our top 4. That should shake up things tremendously. The beach ball will bounce around and kill everything on the board. So Zero's going to be feeling a little bit salty about that one, as we do see both of our 3-star 5 cost players winning their rounds. The big question remains, though, and I'll open it to the UTG, I'll open it to our chat as well. Who has the stronger 3-star 5 cost? Is it Milio or Nora? Snoop or Blonde Unicorn?
Well, the GA helping out Nora is very powerful. However, if Milio decides to replace the GA, aka the Edge of Night, with a cursed item, then that means Milio is at the forefront of winning it. So it is going to come down to Mortdog blessing Blonde Unicorns. Sorry, Blonde Unicorns Milio to take over on that board from Snoop. And counter, I'm just a little bit puzzled because we're seeing quite quite a few quite a few Camille's in Blonde Unicorn's shop, and not a lot of Dianas. And Blonde Unicorn is three Dianas away from having a three-star Diana.
Wow, that's absolutely nuts. But I mean, maybe that's the thing that swings it, as we do see Zero having to bow out here in top 4. Unfortunately, not one of our players. I think, in fact, yes, we've seen Anonymous one, I believe, being eliminated as well. So we're down to our final 2, and we will have ourselves a face-to-face between the 2. You're saying you felt like the difference maker here was this Edge of Night on the Nora. I think you're absolutely right there. That's, if we see these 2 5 costs going face-to-face with each other, having just a few extra seconds of life could be everything. Note the Zephyr, though, in place. If we do see the Milio getting Zephyred, this should swing the round one way or the other.
It hit!
It
But
did.
the cursed items are still coming in. But the GA gets replaced. So this just means that the Milio is going to go ham on this board, and Nora has been CC'd to death and cannot cast her ultimate, the bouncing ball. So it did come down to RNGesus and to Mordog blessing Blonde Unicorn towards the victory.
Oh my gosh. That was an absolute wild way to end out our first round of play today. We are receiving word from Squamples, a 3-star Olaf ended up 3rd in their lobby as well. So we are living in a very strange world indeed. I think when it comes to the forecasts, your mileage will vary a lot more than we've seen otherwise. But gosh, we didn't expect to be labbing things out today, DG, but maybe we should have been.
I mean, listen, I'm perplexed. I thought we'd start off very easy, maybe see a couple of 3-star forecasts, and the Blonde Unicorn and Snoop just say, you want it 3 stars, we're gonna give you 3-star 5 costs.
All right, well, I believe that, yes, we are ready for our short break today. So when we return, we will have round 2 of the competition, and of course, probably even more 3-star 5 course coming away. This is the bleeding edge of TFT competition. This is where heroes come to fight and build monuments to their own grandiosity. We'll see you after the break as Counter's Casual Competition continues. Welcome back to Counters Casual Competition number 87. DG, it's amazing to think that we've managed to get this far without being fired generally, but based on what we saw in our first round of play, on a scale of 1 to chonk, how off the charts do you think the whole thing was?
Big chonkas, big chonkas, big chonkas. Hopefully, you don't get demonetized for that one because,
I
yeah,
was gonna say.
it was probably the level beyond chonk because that was a very crazy game. Two people getting to 3-star 5 costs right from the start. Blonde Unicorn being very close to Diana 3 as well. People getting their 2-star 5 costs around everywhere, and just the general chaos was amazing to watch.
All right, well, we'll have a quick look in a second at how the tournament is developing overall. Again, remember, general friends, that we have got just 3 rounds of play, and our first round is already done. So we have our 4 winners from our 4 tables. Of course, we saw Blonde Unicorn playing before, but for Rifu, Hampus, and MZ. So we've got some big names up at the top of the table. Those are the players to beat coming out of the first round. Of course, they'll all be in a lobby with each other. We're going to be going to lobby 2, which will be just a little bit below the very tippy top of what's going on in the competition. But based on the other first round winners, DG, how do you feel like the field is developing here?
Oh, looking at it, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in the top 16. You know, you having MZ, Hampus, former winners of the tournament. Blonde Unicorn, someone who can always turn it up when he wants to slash needs to, because Blonde Unicorn is also the proponent of lobby 7. Is one of the lobby 7 members that can always bring a very good time. And I think Counter, you recognize someone from the second place people.
Oh, gosh, that was... I'd
Hmm.
have to go back and check for a second, but DG, we're actually going to jump across because we have received a special treat from our producer here today, which is to be able to take a look at some of those other lobbies that are taking place. So this is the one we saw MZ winning out before with Squampy in second place. So in this case, we don't have any of the 3-star 5 costs in place, but we do still have a heavy emphasis, as we would have expected, on the late game boards. This is, of course, also the lobby where the 3-star 4 cost was not the winning formula.
Um, 1 second. A 3-star Olaf with a shapeshifter emblem,
Mm-hmm.
a well, that's a radiant gunblade and a fishbone. So that's, the items are a little bit out there. However, I fully unexpected it to do maybe even get second. However, MZ and Squampy definitely fitted much better equipped boards with to deal with that Olaf.
Well, so something that MC did, which we discussed a little bit coming into this one, was, while we've been emphasizing a lot on the 5 costs coming in and being the big hitters here, MZ managed to do the other route to success apart from Legendary Soup, which is to go heavily into a vertical. In this case, we can see 2 portal emblems is enough to get you up to the tip top of the portal, setup there. So we can start to maybe build out the idea, DG, that vertical traits might actually be the more reliable way to get the victory here than just chasing the hyper high end of the 3-star 5 costs.
So yeah, it does look like the two emblem vertical can be extremely powerful. That was a great transition, but by the way, I was a little bit surprised by it. But yeah, just going back to it, MZ with the 10 portal. I think people could potentially go into 8 witchcraft with Rise. a comp
Hmm.
that we have seen do well, even in the casual tournament, at the World Championships, in the Golden Spatula Cups, in the qualifiers. Basically, you name it, we've seen it, and it has been played.
All right, we are getting some updates from some of the folks who were playing in this lobby. So, yeah, Scompy's saying that they didn't have a chance of actually beating Olaf, but the 10 portal did for them, which is, of course, always relief when that happens. Trontinosi? Apologies, my name and reading abilities are very minimal. It's noting, and well, DG, let me know if you agree with this, saying that they think that the having Quicksilver is going to be especially important in this particular format, being that we could be seeing games won or lost by keeping that 3-star 5 cost online. You mentioned the Edge of Night as something else in that kind of area. You know, do you feel like QS is in that conversation in that same kind of way?
Yeah, there's two ways that you can keep your unit safe, which is Quicksilver, which is the thing that we're talking about right now, to keep them from getting CC chained. And like I said, the Edge of Night also helps you out with bursts of damage, which 10 Portal certainly does. And so I think one or both of those items, in some cases, are needed in order to have a very safe and powerful and powerful end to your game. And so, I correct me if I'm wrong. However, if Milio turn CC chains you with the what was it, with the Quicksilver, I believe that once you get to 60% HP, the Edge of Night removes it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, your guess is as good as mine there, I'm afraid. But let's take a quick look at one of the other lobbies that was played we didn't get to see on stream, because of course, there's madness aplenty, so this is going to be, Trontino, of course, in our chat was playing, it looks to be more on the Frost kind of shapeshifter side of things, but Farifu managing to get the 3-star Morgana, of course. That does seem to be one of the more straightforward ways to get the win in there. And managing to even bring in more Preserver as well. I'd love to see this kind of board put up against a Portal 10 board to see what would happen. But under normal circumstances, this feels like the strongest we could get.
Excuse the stink face, because I see 3 witchcraft emblems. You can also see it on the Swain there, and there's also a preserver emblem. So basically, this was 5 preserver, 8 witchcraft from Parifu with a 3-star Morgana. And basically, I don't think your board can evolve much more than this.
I'm so curious to see how things proceed, as we will be getting to our second lobby in just a few moments' time. Just how people go and approach this, because, of course, with the Chunks treasure coming in, you just don't know exactly what you're going to get. So we can see our players and the points they have. This is round 2, lobby 2. Our players in this lobby will be trying to get out of here and into the top lobby to end out the day and challenge for those top 2 spots. Nearly always, it's only going to be possible to get those top 2 spots if you're playing in the final lobby. So that's what our players need to do. Let's get things started. Champion Conference, Spatula Prismatic Finale. I'd have to imagine Champion Conference, DG, would be doubling down on what Chonk is giving us.
So Champion Conference would be very, very funny to see, because you're basically increasing your economy for free. However, so recently I played a game where it was a prismatic lobby, and I was 1 spatula away from having the infinite gold glitch of 2 spatulas, a spatula in a pan, and two pans. So I was hoping to see the spatula. However, we are going to see the. So I think that was the Champion Conference that got picked. And also, this is going to be a lobby with 4-cost champions. So this is going to be a little bit more interesting to see how people will develop, because it is not the heavy volatile start of a 5-cost champion.
Yes, let's see what the Chonk has got from us early on. So it looks like we've got a couple of extra items coming in. But I do want to touch back on what you were talking about before. With this being Champion Conference, unless we'll get corrected by one of the players who is in the lobby, that does mean that unlike champion delivery, this is going to be tailored champion drops coming in. And with given the fact we've got a forecast from the beginning of the game, it feels like our players should be able to carve out their line and start to get some very pointed drops from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it does. And also, if you do get quite a bit of well, we're seeing people eyeing the Ari. So yeah, I definitely get it. So another way to manipulate champion delivery is to have as least amount of traits on your board as possible in order for you to get the champion that you really want to grab for your board. As we see the first augments coming in, and that is a very smart decision. And Zap attack on a regular basis would be extremely powerful, but because it is Chong's treasure, it might just not be the best augment to get.
All right, so this is really interesting because I'm with you there. I would not have expected to see a one-cost, hero augment be the focus here. As we see a little bit of rearranging going on, but I guess let's bring in the conversation as to what this is going to ultimately mean. Because as you said, we got to focus towards the extreme late game. It seems like, DG, your overall initial gut feeling is that a one-cost reroll won't be able to stand up in that kind of high-value environment.
Well, you're kind of forced to. You're kind of forced into playing for the late game, especially because of how much your economy is boosted and everything. It doesn't mean that Zap Attack is weak in any way, shape, or form. However, it is not the guaranteed top 2, top 3 as people might think, because as we can see it right now, it does get deleted by the Fiora. This Cassiopeia is also dealing quite a bit of damage. So it's not. It's not as powerful of a champion as it could be, because you do have these 4 costs or these 5 costs coming in, and especially because people can hold a lot of Blitzcranks early on.
So this is something I wanted to bring into the conversation. We touched on it a little bit in our first game, but we're in such an odd situation here with the Chunks treasure. We're getting a 4 cost. I guess my sort of big question here is, how much do you try and build around the 4 costs in your composition? Because normally, if you find 1 4 cost, the chances of getting them up to 2-star in a reasonably timely fashion isn't that far away. But in this case, it's going to be a long time until this 4 cost hits 2-star. So how much do you think you can build your board around it?
You have a lot of ways to do it. If you get one of the carry 4 costs, or let's say the main carry 4 costs like Rise, Gwen, and Fiora, you're definitely going to be playing quite a bit around that board. If you get something like a Karma, like we see right there, you have a couple of Chrono units, you have the Blighting Jewel on Karma, that can also be one of the ways to play. However, if you do get something like the Tom Kench, something like the Tarek, you're probably not going to play that much into it unless you're going into some crazy Portal Vertical, for example, for Tarek, or Arcana for Tom Kench. So I think your options are much more limited there. But in the case of something like a Fiora, like we see right now for Snoop, it is very powerful because you do see the Witchcraft and the Warrior, and you have some frontline to help out that Fiora just deals so much damage.
We certainly saw 1-on-1 working very well indeed. Anonymous one on the other side is the recipient of the Tarek you mentioned before, so strong frontline, but lacking a little bit in the damage department. We'll see. I think it's going to struggle maybe here. The Fiora, we'll see if she goes onto the back line. No, I certainly think in terms of ability to deny Fiora's burst, Tarek is doing a great job there, and it will ultimately be a loss for the board. So as we scoot around the place, let's check in on where everybody is. Again, apologies for the lower quality. We are lower visual quality here. We are relying on our players to be streaming today, so we very much appreciate them. No matter, if they can give us higher quality or not. Unfortunately, we did find out just before the tournament started, Chunks Treasure. Previously, we could spectate it. has been disabled for one reason or another. Maybe it wasn't working fully properly. So we thank our players and to our heroic producer, Wet Noodles, for making today's broadcast a thing in any capacity at all. Chonk will come through, though, with smiles and pleasant dreams, and this time it looks like it's mostly gold and just a single item drop coming in. So it's not as massively impactful as it could have been.
No, it isn't. However, you do get a forecast out of it, so that gives you another champion to try and build your board around. However, it does seem like in the case of Keto here, it is just, oh, that is wonderful. I did not know the chunk would dance with the other chunk if
I
if they
didn't know that
initiated the
either.
dance. That was very funny. So it does seem like people are playing towards this Ari quite a bit in stage two, which is not surprising to me. Ari is a very powerful two cost, probably the most powerful of the two costs right now. And because it is that zap attack, you can definitely manipulate the HP of a lot of other people because of that zap from the Blitzcrank. So this is a powerful board right now. However, once this board starts to evolve a little bit more, and once people start getting in their 2-star forecasts, this Blitzcrank is going to have a much tougher time.
I do think it's a bold choice here from Bath to take this earlier game focus. I'm with you there that it feels like, well, theoretically it seems like we will be having a much stronger time in terms of what we're getting overall. As I think we might have lost our feed from Bath's side of things, so we'll be back with you hopefully in just a second. We'll wait for an update from production side of things. There we go. We're back underway. But yeah, no, so Bath taking the early game focus, we'd expect to see them being rewarded in terms of overall HP, but that hasn't actually been the case. Bath is one of our lower HP players, but maybe that's about to change. We're seeing a lot of other players on the right-hand side starting to drop down in HP as well, so I think we're in a volatile part of the game here. Switching across to Snoop, we are seeing one of the forecasts that you were talking about before, the Karma, in place. I think that we do have another Karma player in the lobby, but this is Fiora and Karma as a combo.
So yeah, this was the Fiora board we saw from Snoop lose to that Tarek, but also that board had a triple portal double witchcraft happening, and we're seeing I saw molten caramel and high horsepower, so a lot of people have gone for the heroic augments, which is a little bit surprising counter because generally you want to play for those 4 costs or 5 costs that you get, but I think if you can get your 3 stars on your heroic augment champions, you can do quite a lot of things and
I
elevate
have to think
your board
it's
just that
going
much.
to be having the champion delivery coming in. It's going to make it a little bit more appealing to choose a specific route. As we see, we've got the 3 costs coming in on this side of things, but we'll see. Snoop, of course, is waiting for the upgrades to come in longer term, so I think it's just taking whatever they can get. The Chrono being brought in, I think it's a solid choice here. I wondered if we might, you were pointing out before that the Warrior, a very powerful combination. We could have seen Snoop trying to get the 4 Warrior online, but it hasn't happened as of yet.
No, it hasn't. Instead, they have chosen to go for the 4 Chrono, and if we get a Chrono emblem on this Fiora, or maybe on a 5 cost later on, we could see the board evolve that way. And we're already seeing here, the Fiora is having a little bit of a tough time against this Blitzcrank. However, the Karma is doing quite a bit of damage, and while Snoop is going to take the loss against Kita, who has, evolved their board right now, we are seeing that board is struggling a little bit more and more.
And it's worth noting, as Berso was saying in the chat, some of our traditional boards that would occupy the late game are going to start to get a little bit more crowded. We've got crowns coming in because it's prismatic time. We still don't know the full capacity of what we'll be getting from Chonk overall, but I'd have to imagine, DG, that these crowds have got to be tempting just because of the chance of potentially doubling up on one of them.
Yeah, you can definitely get a lot of emblems. Rerolling both the Vanguard and the uh, new recruit was definitely not something that I would have done, but I think Kita has something planned.
A movable object can be taken instead, so this is kind of, I guess, more of what I would have expected overall coming into the competition, is that we're getting a lot of economy, we're getting a lot of champions from Portal as well, so focusing on things that push the power of your board makes a lot of sense to me. On the other side, we can see the Rise board coming together with the upgraded Masterwork item. I think we've got some... Yeah, we're starting as we're coming even into early stage 3 to see our players finding more and more of their late game boards, so our one cost reroller may already be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, so that's basically what you want to see as the power of the Rise is coming in. You have that Radiant Rage Blade, which Rise can utilize very effectively because the number of portals he shoots out does increase with his attack speed. So very powerful, very powerful item for Rise. And you do see the thing that I was talking about, Counter, when you start building around that Rise, around that Fiora, even around Karma. We saw last round who did have. Uh, who did have the Blighting Jewel and the Manazane, so that just means people are brought to zero magic resist very quickly. And the Counter, I think you can take over here because that's a Lilia 3.
Yeah, she's not fully itemized as yet, but we can see she's already an absolute menace. Note that our players we're seeing here, I think you pointed this out really well before. Despite everything we've been predicting coming into this one, we've got 2 players with prismatic tickets, 2 players with one cost hero augments in this lobby, so this, it feels like, at least in theory, we might have a critical enough mass of low cost players that keeps the entire game being decided by who can hit the biggest legendary soup board.
It does seem that way, that Legendary Soup is going to be a little bit more open to, for for our high rollers in in the game. I do want to point out though, if everyone is going for the high costs and no one is playing for the low costs, and you have a prismatic ticket, there might just be a way to go for the Ari reroll even in Chunk's treasure.
Well, the Chunk's treasure this time is going to be... Okay. Yeah, so we're going to be having the Sniper's Focus coming in to put a little bit more damage on the Karma. So we know we've got artifacts, I presumably across the board for everybody. Some duplicators coming in. I think given the kind of lobby we're in, you're right, because we're seeing people pushing levels and also having prismatic tickets, which, to me at least, DG, seems to suggest we're going for 2 or more likely 3 cost reroll coming in to make this kind of make sense. So having those extra duplicators certainly means that Snoop can get a little bit more power and lie, but I have to admit I find myself somewhat confused. Anonymous one over on the other side, though, is not confused. It's got the Bastion in place as well as the Honey Mancy emblem, so Anonymous, a former champion here at the Casual Competition, a multi-time champion, is brewing up a storm. Won't win this round, but I think Anonymous has got a good amount of late game potential.
Yeah, and we're already seeing how big the potential is for a late game board. But oh wow, that's school mascot, and that's a lot of duplicators just waiting to get used. Counter, this lobby is quite different than the previous game because we're seeing a lot more people like try to reroll in the low costs instead of just going for that level 8 level 9 board, which is a little bit perplexing. However, if you can hit your board, it's not necessarily that bad.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of sort of running theory, and some of you agree or disagree with this, TG, is that if there's enough enough rerolls in the lobby, then the tempo of the game, the speed of the game, and how much damage you're taking specifically can sort of reach a tipping point where going to the extreme late game becomes riskier. I mean,
Hmm.
in this case, though, I mean, we've got a couple of players, well, three players down at 50 HP. I don't know if we've tipped that kind of seesaw enough to make the low cost players will be able to compete with the high cost later on.
Yeah, the thing that I'm seeing quite now is that uh because half of the people in the lobby have been focusing on the higher end of their boards, on those four costs, five costs. The other players in the lobby have managed to hit, especially with those heroic augments. We saw the Lilia 3, we saw the Blitzcrank 3, and we saw the Molten Caramel Rumble get to 3-star as well, and have that Radiant death cap for that extra bit of damage. So it is so powerful, right? Reroll has become, by virtue, a lot more powerful because people are focusing on their forecast quite a lot.
So, one thing which I guess we haven't brought up as a possibility here for Snoop, because we mentioned before, we've got prismatic tickets, or several prismatic tickets in this lobby,
Mm.
is that maybe the idea is not as we might normally expect to try and to go for the 2 and 3 cost reroll, but instead to open up a more realistic possibility of finding the 3-star 4 costs later on.
Yeah, it could just be the case, especially for someone like Snoop, who already has a couple of 2-star forecasts and still has a lot of gold. Normally you would be re-rolling it. You'd be re-rolling your gold here down to zero to look for those upgrades. But because you have that prismatic ticket, you're banking on hitting a lot of these forecasts and just saving your gold. As we see our final augments of the game, it is going to be gold augments.
So gold into prismatic into gold, a relatively high powered lobby. Remember, of course, the champion delivery is still popping through, so tailored units dropping in. We're going to start to see some of those legendaries coming through, be they through the chunk himself or themselves, uh, or through just getting the portal putting you online. So we've got our ongoing conversation of the reroll players versus the late game players. I think we are more or less together in thinking that it's likely the late game oriented players will have an easier time of things, but I suppose this point, particularly coming out of this carousel, is where we'll see that idea tested and whether or not our reroll players have done enough damage to keep themselves from getting knocked out early on.
I think this is going to be one of the first tests, for example, for Kita, especially who has that Zap Attack board against Snoop's forecast board. And we do see the Karma is dealing quite a bit of damage. This Gwen is dealing quite a bit of damage. However, these Vanguards are tanking so much. And, well, it does seem like Snoop does need to hit a couple of upgrades, at least for now, to be able to keep up with that board that has the immovable object as well. So that's quite a lot of resistance is stacked up. But you are seeing the potential for this board, especially.
I mean, certainly Four Warriors is pretty good. I think we are relying very, very heavily on the Gwen here, which is... It always feels a
Mm.
little iffy to me when we don't have Sugarcraft of any kind. She's still going to have a little bit of her power locked behind there. The Karma on the back line with the Sniper's focus at least gives her a little bit more in terms of damage, but I'm not sure about this one for Snoop. I mean, you know, we've still got, as you noted before, the prismatic ticket in place, and we've got a good amount of money in the bank. So I think Snoop has got good long-term potential, but in short term, against on what we see on the other side with, I believe that's Som, who is running the Karma board with a blighting jewel. This is power that's online right now, and it's ripping through Snoop's board.
It is doing so much damage, and I believe that's the forge, because every item on there is an artifact item. So, uh, you know, They did high roll a little bit, but yeah, Karma with a Mana Zane and with a Blighting Jewel just deletes most boards, and especially if you can get that Chrono time skip, Karma has even more time to delete everything. So you're really banking on hitting a 3-star forecast as Snoop here, because otherwise you're kinda uh, going you're kind of bleeding your HP down to zero.
And given the fact we have got multiple players on the prismatic ticket in the lobby, it's worth restating some of the core stuff about TFT. As Chunk will provide us with some radiant items coming in here, and the artifact from the, we can see the Zephyr as well, so even more power coming in. But tier 4 units, which we're seeing being rerolled here, there's only 10 of them, I believe, in total in the game. So if anybody, even 2 stars, the Gwen or the Fiora on their board, Snoop can no longer hit the 3-star on theirs.
No, you really can't hit it, and that is something that I'm personally very interested to see, is whether people will be contesting each other, and whether we will see some pivoting happening around, because you're seeing, for example, someone like Percival, who went for that more molten caramel, and basically has a decked out Rumble that is just dealing so much damage, and it is going to be Gwen versus the Rumble, and the Gwen nearly takes out the Rumble. However, Molten Caramel is such a strong augment that you really can't face that Rumble 1v1.
No, I think you're right. Unless we see the 3-stars coming in, that board's not even going to be getting too much stronger either. Chunk will come and visit us again. I didn't realize the Chunk was starting to appear more frequently. We have got more radiant items coming in, so it seems like in this particular lobby we've got so much kind of good stuff coming in that I'd imagine the boards which have got multiple different carries they can call upon and meaningfully itemize, like perhaps the Warriors and similar, are going to be the ones who can cap out the highest.
Yeah, the Warriors love to have a lot of items on them, so that's one of the things that you can effectively deck out. And we do see here that the Vanguards are are tanking up quite a bit. However, uh, this I think Molten Caramel is very powerful. I think, especially in the last few patches, it has been extremely powerful, and you don't have the weakness of people contesting you for Rumble a lot in Chunk's Treasure, because a lot of people just go for a lot of these a lot of these other boards. However, Bard with the heroic triumph over that Rumble uh, is going to provide us with a very large upset.
Alright, so we do see that Snoop is in pretty major trouble. We do have at least a new contender entering the field, as we have moved away from the warrior routes that we have been on for such a long time. There is a spatula on the bench, so we've got the chance to potentially, if we can find a cloak here, to bring in Preserver 5, and we can. So that move to Morgana-centric hopefully should pay off. The only problem here for Snoop is you've got to get the Morgana 2 online. One will drop from the delivery, and the second as well. That's got to be a huge sigh of relief to at least have a 2-star primary carry online.
And it does seem like Legendary Soup is the name of the game for Snoop, because they are it's very close to having hit a lot of these champions, and so close on hitting
Ooh.
on hitting the Zephyr. I think they're a little bit nervous here. They're getting a little bit dizzy. And oh no, we didn't go for the preserver counter.
No, that's
Oh.
I mean, I guess, yeah, the immediate needs of the bloodthirst are being addressed. But yeah, unless we see a good drop from this last component anvil, Snoop may have given up on a large quantity of power just to survive that round. We'll see what the pop will be, but Snoop is down on minimal HP. We have got other players in the lobby in a similar situation as well. Tenga's is also very, very low. We have got at least the legendary units coming online. The Milio too has joined the board, but I think a big part of this is we're going to need to try and make everything come together in the immediate.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case, and I love what Snoop has been doing throughout this whole. Oh no, oh no, we don't get the preserver, and we miss the Zephyr. I think Snoop got a little bit dizzy towards the end here, counter, and we are going to see Snoop is going to go for that. I think Scholar Emblem.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that would make sense. And Snoop will actually be able to take out Bath there, so will not be going in last place. I believe as well we've had an elimination on Tenga's, so we're into very, very rarefied air towards the 10. And thank you very much to Bath for sticking around so we can keep an eye on how everything else is developing. The Zap Attack board from before, ultimately, I believe this is getting a little dizzy here myself. I believe ultimately going out in, I want to say 8th place, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to confirm that in a second. Looking through some of the rest of the boards, DG, you were praising the Molten Caramel board from before as being very, very powerful. It does seem like it's at least staying on its feet, but we've also got here our friend from, I believe this is me, or Gizzy here with the high horsepower board. This, despite being also a one cost, has stayed online pretty damn well.
Well, yeah, you have so many 3 stars that have been hit. There's 3 stars, and this RE has the Ludens, has the Nashers, and has the blue buff, which is just so powerful when you're uncontested virtually and going for these one cause. That, I mean, you just look at that board and you're extremely terrified of it.
Som, who we saw before with the Karma board, is ruling the roost and has been doing so for a while, so I think people are in a little bit of trouble here in terms of being able to deal with the what the Forge. You pointed out before, very powerful, can just about make out the HP total. Som on nearly 80 HP, way ahead of the rest of the lobby. The chunk will come through once again. We've got gold, we've got another spatula coming in, so we could see a tacticians coming from Spook to get some more units on the board. Dragon coming as well. This will be the last stand, I suspect, EG, for several of our players.
Counter, I don't want to preemptively speak my mind, but I do believe Snoop is going towards a 3-star Milio.
Oh my gosh! I think you're right. We've certainly got 2 of them. We don't have a duplicator. And Scholar is not our most active trait, so I don't think the portal's going to help us out there if I remember how it works correctly. And maybe the chance will not be here because I believe this is Som, our lobby lead on the other side. You pointed out the What the Forge from before. This Chrono board is scary as hell. The Morgana and the Diana have not been able to hold on the front line, so Som will claim another victim and remain at the tippy top.
Another one falls, and Som is definitely at the forefront of trying to win this lobby. However, well, hopefully someone is going to take us towards those other boards, because yeah, I'm seeing anonymous one here with the 8 Bastion. We have 8 Portal online as well. A 3-star Hecarim has now come online as well, so that, I think that brings us to 7 3-star champions for that RE to help out. And I saw 2-star Rise coming in, but is that the first time that we've seen the Rise get upgraded?
Certainly, I think it's the first time we're seeing it being used in a kind of carry potential, at least. And we can see, even in this context, we get an illustration, I think, of why Rise was being the favoured one between Rise and Karma to remain up and part of that conversation. Some will take the loss. Anonymous one, we'll have to double check, but I think is either, yes, should have been eliminated in that last round. So we're down to our final 3. And honestly, from what we're seeing there on the other side with one of our players, I believe he's not even part of the tournament, but coming as a random player, I believe that's Gizzy, running the low-cost reroll, has made it to top 3. So I'm delighted to say, DG, that our predictions that we might see the low-cost reroll really struggle in this lobby have not necessarily proven to be completely correct.
No, and it's a little bit funny. This feeling inside. Sorry.
That's where I thought you were going with it. I was like, that was a lot out of nowhere, but I'm here for it.
But yeah, looking at it, like I said before, because you're uncontested in those low cost units, you do have a lot more power, and especially because Zoe Ari has been back in the meta quite a bit. Okay, we can see this board properly right now, and I can count them out: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3-star units to help out this Ari. And I mean, you do see Psalm is definitely struggling. This Karma is struggling to delete these frontline units, because while it is true that Karma has the Blighting Jewel, that is still quite a bit of HP to go through these units. And this Ari manages to take the victory at the end, and Som is still yet to go down below 50 HP and get that bonus from Chunk. However, it does seem to be like it's going to be a very close game.
Oh boy. I mean, I think at least in theory, the Blighting Jewel feels like a pretty good answer to Lilia, just because, once you've reduced her resistance to 0, she's then becomes effectively a mana battery for the Karma to cast again and again and again. But as we've seen before, these rounds get very, very close indeed. And DG, I do worry that maybe for some there isn't enough damage outside of that Karma.
No, there isn't a lot of damage outside of that Karma, unless your name is Olaf and you get transported on top of that Ari, and then, my whole point about no backline access gets yeeted out of the window, because Olaf just transported back to, right next to Ari, manages to delete her before getting transported back, and that means that Psalm is 1 victory away from taking that victory lap and getting the W in game number 2.
Now, DG, yeah, the Cutlass, hugely impactful in that last round. I can't think that works a second time for Som. Given that Gizzy now knows that's a possibility of happening, I'd have to imagine it's surely going to just surround the Ari with units to make it so that Olaf won't be able to access her before being forcibly teleported back to his starting location. Oh, no, I'm wrong.
Well, we are eating our words, especially because Ari also got stunned, and the Olaf now gets a chance to delete 2 units off of the board for Gizzy. And we were talking about Karma being powerful. My friend, let me introduce you to this little guy called Olaf, who can go through the CC through the CC from Chrono. It's a very known combo, something that has been used a lot of the time, and Som is going to take the victory without even getting the blessing from Chunk.
Well, impressive stuff. Yeah, Som, I think, managed to find a way through. Maybe a little bit lucky to be able to get away with going for the Cutlass for a second time in a row. I think maybe their opponent thought, there's no way that they are expecting, me to not move my backline or do anything to prevent this from happening exactly the same way again. So it's 5D chess being played there, DG, where by doing nothing at all, you've actually done the least expected thing. But Som was playing 6D chess, I suppose, in this metaphor, and still made it work nonetheless. I guess we don't know for sure what would have happened otherwise, but Som does get the win overall, which means we are done with our second round DG. One more round left to go. One more round of Chunk's Treasure to deliver us from our cares and worries. We'll be taking a short break. When we return, that final round will be here, and we will crown ourselves the chunkiest of champions. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the conclusion of Counter's Casual Competition Chunk Edition. With me, DG. We have been on a wild journey of discovery the whole way through the competition. We knew that we were going to be seeing a resource-heavy game mode coming in, but DG, I think we were both shocked by how effective low-cost reroll was, particularly in our previous lobby.
Yeah, I completely did not expect to see Ari and Zoe getting top two, and if that positioning was a little bit better, it could have potentially even win the game. So I'm very excited, Counter, because now have seen that there are other avenues outside of forecasts to win a game or to get potentially a top two if you only need a top two to win the tournament. So this final lobby, Counter, it is going to be volatile.
Well, let's build up to it then. Let's take a look at some of our previous round results to kind of start to set the picture, because, of course, we saw on our stream the low costs coming in, but on the Yuki's lobby, because, of course, it did belong to her as the winner, we saw the opposite side of it. A 3-star 5 cost, a 3-star 4 cost. I mean, that just seems like that's maths that makes sense to me, DG.
I mean, yeah. Also, it's funny to me that the other half of Blonde Unicorn Yuki and the Yuki Rena, you know, the couple is playing the same champion and winning with the same champion. So big shout out to both Blonde Unicorn and Yuki Rena utilizing uh utilizing Milio to its fullest extent. And I'm seeing here, Counter, that, well, this is the board that you're an expert in. The 6 scholars have been utilized to win this game.
Yeah, and I mean, seeing the Scholar emblem, as we mentioned much earlier on in the broadcast, on the Morgana, a great way to pump up the front line. You can see that the Tarek and the Tam Kench both doing a great job of holding ground. Of course, you know, so little, even in this environment with Chunk's Treasure, there's so little of the game you're going to have a 3-star 5 cost, even if you ever do hit it, or even a 3-star 4 cost. You need to have a hyper solid board to get you there in the first place. So I think that's the results we have from the previous lobby. So let's bring ourselves front and center. In a little bit, we'll just be checking on the standings before we go into that final game. As we can see, up at the top, Squampy and MZ, they are neck to neck with each other, DG, both on 15 points.
And they have a 2-point lead as well, Counter, because Squampy and MZ, while great players, in their own right. A couple of the players, just below them are some of the previous winners with Hampus, Leven, and Anonymous One. So Squampy and MZ having that 2-point lead just guarantees them that they can play for a little bit of a safer board, maybe try to even go for that top 4, top 2 if one of them falters in the final lobby, and they don't necessarily have to take that big risk to get the W in this game number 3.
Alright, gentle friends, we have one more game to give you today before it's all said and done. So let's get things underway. Remember again, our big story coming to this one, Squampy and MZ tied on 15 points apiece. Those two with the best chance of taking the tournament overall, but they'll be not only competing with each other, but as you said, DG, with a field of players who are still reasonably within reach. Let's get into the fight. Let 'em cook will be our portal.
And what better way to have our players in this final lobby than to make them cook? And someone who is at the forefront of cooking is Squampy, who can always cook up a very interesting board. And what does he get? Zerat as his starter unit. So this is going to be a very, very interesting board, and I'm hoping Squampy can do some very interesting things. Squampy is already looking towards the Bastion reroll, and I can't help but wonder, Counter, is Squampy going to lean into the scholars, or will he lean into the low cost reroll?
I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to turn away from the potential of the extreme late game situation. I mean, with Make Him Cook, I feel like our players have got a big question here of whether or not they, you could certainly put those the Spatron pad together, get an immediate unit online, and get the power from the beginning of the game, start handing out some heavier losses, or try and double down on one of these traits and get an endgame board that can shake the heavens themselves.
Well, I certainly thought that Squampy might just go for the Scholar emblem. However, he has decided to infinitely troll me and just go for the Arcana because he also managed to hit a Zerath and a Hecarim, and also Squampy has gone for component buffet, which is very high gameplay from him, very powerful gameplay from him, and he is also going for Bastion. Oh my
Oh.
god, counter! He's going for the 8 Bastion Zerath. This is going to be so incredible.
So, interestingly enough, Burso was the one who got us a heads up before about where 8 Bastions were in the competition. He was saying that actually he got a third place with an 8 Bastion board. So I'm fascinated to see how this works out longer term. I mean, certainly 4 Bastion at this point is incredibly powerful as a frontline. I think it should be able to stand up to units like the Camille and give Zerath a lot of time to get his casts off.
Yeah, it's going to help out the Zerath quite a bit. However, the thing is, you have that extra unit coming here, and you see the Camille
Ooh.
has been given that extra bit of power, and it is going to beat Squampy. However, for Bastion, while extremely powerful, does not have the same amount of power that 6 Bastion has. So I'm looking at Squampy's board once he hits that level 6, level 7 to field those Bastions in. And another thing that Squampy can do quite a bit. Oh, he just got one of the craziest snowball charms from Zera that you can get, and he also has an Ari in his shop. Squampy is high rolling.
Yeah, this is one of the possibilities that open here. To just go absolutely off the charts good. Again, remember, Squampy along with MZ is one of our front runners, so this is a pretty damn good start. On the other side, we can see the Milio in place. Maybe DG, this is why we didn't see the attempt to go down the Scholar line from Squampy.
Yeah, we do see the Milio, we do see Zoe, and a couple of Vanguards have come in. So probably Squampy knows about what is going on in the at the rest of the board, and he just took the win with that Zerath living on 4 HP or something. I mean, this is very high quality gameplay from Squampy. He is also very snowballed right now because he has all of that extra gold, and I mean, I love the way that Squampy is playing this early game.
I see Scomp in the chat, very happy with the charm coming in early on. Of course, in the most circumstances, that is less of an issue, but Zerath's charm ability getting brought up a little bit in the most recent patch. On the other side, though, we see the Vanguard board coming together as well. We've got, of course, again, the Let 'em Cook. There are no Reforgers in place in this lobby. The change to make sure you can't just guarantee you're going to be able to hit the verticals. We've got a lot to take in here. Squampy will be getting another cast out of the Zerath and actually gets a win in there again. That's something we haven't even talked about as of yet. The Bastion emblem on the Zerath, making him surprisingly hard to put down.
And this is something that is going to be even more difficult come 6 Bastion, come 8 Bastion, because Bastions get double the resistances in the first 10 seconds of the round, but because Bastions got buffed, you're getting so much bang for your buck, and especially when you have something like something like the Bastion emblem on a backline carry that would usually be very squishy. It just helps bring you it just helps you be that little bit more defensive, and reminds me a little bit of the early sets of TFT counter, when you were basically forced to build a defensive item on a backline carry because of how much backline access there was.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly saw in our previous game when it came to some of the artifacts that Cutlass in particular proved to be extremely deadly. Multi-striker here from Hampus. Again, thank you to Hampus for providing us a stream with the spectator being down for this particular mode at the moment. Multi-striker is definitely not something we've seen a ton of, but we can see here that we've got Camille's on both sides of the equation. A fairy emblem in place already for Hampus means that we're looking at a presumably not a straight multi-striker board, but with this being contested, hitting the 2-star Camille, hitting those 2-star Callistas may take a little bit longer for our multi-striker players.
Yeah, the multi-striker boards are definitely going to struggle just a little bit. However, it is really powerful. They can be very powerful once you get to that 7 multi-striker, once you get to everything that you need to. Uh, so looking at it here, we also have a fairy emblem, so this can easily transition into a Callista board once you get to those later stages, and it can be extremely powerful if you can get 7 or even 9 fairy with multi strikers for that Callista.
It's certainly one of the let 'em cook variants that we were seeing a lot when this was, I think, seeing a lot more play coming through. So, but yeah, the Gwinsus, as you said, we've got the potential longer term. Shapeshifters on the other side for Anonymous One. Of course, Anonymous One, multi-time champion. We talked before about that we had several players here who, in this lobby, who are on 13 points. So if they can finish 2 ahead of Squampy or MZ, they could leapfrog. Anonymous One is one of those potential leapfrogging players, and we know that shapeshifters themselves can cap out extremely strongly.
Yeah, and the thing is, Briar early on is not as powerful as it could be. However, once you get to that stage 3, stage 4, and she has a large amount of health held already put on her, she can become that carry. So I fully expect Anonymous One to have a massive win streak in stage number 3.
Alright, we'll keep an eye on how well Anonymous One does. It's worth noting that Squampy did actually clarify for us that there are 2 frontrunners, Squampy and MZ. They are contesting each other on the Bastion board in this lobby, so long term, that should be slowing both of them down and hopefully giving an opportunity for our other players on less points to catch up with them.
I mean, it is going to be very... I'm sorry, Counter. I completely missed your point because Squampy has managed to level up to 8 at stage 3-1.
I mean...
What is this?
It's Squampy things. I mean, Squampy and MZ, let's see. So MZ is currently undefeated in this lobby. Squampy, you can see, has got a great board, but has spent aggressively to get here. I guess my question for you, DG, is, given that MZ is on a win streak and on 100 HP, are we going to be seeing Squampy actually start to struggle, given that presumably he's given up a lot of his late game potential by spending this aggressively?
It's all going to depend on what Chong gives him at stage 3.5 after the carousel here, but
come on!
Okay. Okay. And he gets the increase your 5 cost chances by 4% permanently. So the game has definitely decided, okay, I'm going to give Squampy all of the chances to win. He just needs to utilize them.
So let's bring this together then. So for Swampy, the good news is multiple Bastion emblems getting to Bastion 8 should be fairly trivial. And we've also got the Zerath charms from before, the extra gold on win, XP on loss, and now the extra 5 cost chances mean that Swampy has got good things going for him, but the bad news is the lack of gold, as you said. We'll see what Chunk does provide, but if it's not gold, Swampy could end up getting stalled out here. Hampus on the other side with the Fairy multi-striker board. The Camille is starting to come online in a more serious way. And maybe Hampus will be one of those players that can disrupt the overall structure of the lobby itself.
Well, Swampy is looking very powerful right now, giving Safachiro a big loss here. And you're seeing this Tristana with the crown, with the multi-striker emblem, and that Rage Blade. So I imagine that could be, holding the items for Callista. But Counter, this lobby is going crazy from one end to the other, and I'm here for it because we're seeing a lot of utilizations, a lot of different things happening, and our players, amongst all of this, are somehow trying to not contest each other.
They're not doing a great job of that, unfortunately. But I suppose, this is the thing. In the Let's Uncook portal, you've definitely got better and worse approaches to it, or at least more obvious and less obvious approaches to it. The multi-striker and the Fairy emblem, certainly a fairly standard approach. So I think, along with Bastion, you've got a more realistic possibility of you're going to be contesting one way or the other. I think one of the ones I'm most interested though is on the other side. We've got this Vanguard board coming together with the Ari backline behind it. This is one which I wasn't expecting to see coming in, but I hope ultimately works out.
So this is MZ's board, if I'm not mistaken, and she has managed to. So she has gotten a Bastion emblem herself and put it on the Tom Kench. So you have a little bit of you have some playing coming around with the Vanguards and the Bastions, some mixing from MZ, who's trying to set up a very powerful Diana board for the late game. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but it could work out really well for her. And I just realized, Counter, that Swampy needs only a Tarek and a Shen to have to have a Tarek and a Shen to have 8 Bastion. And
hold that thought.
See what,
because okay, so this is one of the things, the kind of pivot points we were talking about here, was whether or not we'd see Swampy brought back to his feet by the chunk gold economically. It looks like, TG, that we got a little bit of gold in, but still mostly items, so Swampy is still very, very low on econ. I think he might actually end up spending... I thought maybe he'd be spending the champion duplicators to just get more gold.
That's not the Swampy way of playing TFT. It's not how he would play it, and you know it.
On the other side, we do see the Scholar board coming together. That Scholar emblem, of course, as we would have expected, and Trait Tracker as well. In a lobby which has, potentially 2 emblems being given out for free, you put together a Trait Tracker, and suddenly you've got everything under the sun you could hope for. Maybe even an Arcana emblem to make that really pop.
Well, it does seem like Trait Tracker can help out in the later stages, especially for someone like Safachiro. But Counter, I want to point out something which is very interesting, and that is Som has 100 HP. Everyone below him is sitting in the 70s. And
wow,
our two top dogs in Swampy and MZ are both within 1 tactician HP from each other.
That's absolutely wild. And of course, we saw Som in our previous lobby rocking it out with the Karma board and ultimately managing to get the very, very strong finish. In this case, yeah, it's incredible to have managed potentially a full 2-stage streak very much a player to watch. Some on 13 points overall, so a top 1 finish could be the key to becoming our tournament champion. Hampers up against Anonymous One in this round, though. The Shapeshifter board. Again, we haven't seen a ton of this being played, but on a scale of 1 to the scariest goddamn thing you've seen in your life, DG, where do you feel like Anonymous One is late game potential wise?
Scariest thing I've ever seen, because there are 2 shapeshifter emblems on that board for Anonymous One, and I'm 99% sure that Anonymous One is only missing 1 shapeshifter to be at that 8 shapeshifter place. And another thing that Chong's Treasure offers us is the potential to go to 10 shapeshifter, which is something that cannot be beaten. I have tried. It is not. It is unbeatable.
Yes, I have to remember the change which came into that one. I believe that we've got some kind of extra regen coming in, said to make it effectively like a Portal 10 kind of situation, where there's no reasonable chance of dealing with it. But it's still worth mentioning, given the environment we're in this tournament, we're not dealing with reasonable boards, so I'm not fully willing to count out the possibility that, Shapeshifter 10, of course, incredible, but maybe some of these 3-star 5 costs would be enough to take it down.
Well, shape 3-star, a 3-star 5 cost is definitely enough to win. But it would still be very funny to see 10 shapeshifter come in for these boards. And we're seeing here, we said earlier that people are trying to not contest each other. That has gone out of the window, because we're seeing, is that MZ? Or is it someone else contesting for the, oh, it's Levin, pardon me, it's Levin who is going for these for the multi-strikers, who is doing so well. And now we're looking at Squampy, who has six Bastion, however has not yet reached the 8 Bastion board.
Oh, Raid Boss coming has got to be pretty tempting. I mean, this, we normally would be seeing this with a hero ultimate coming in, because that's going to be so much the focal part of what you're doing. But I'm curious to see where this goes for Squampy, because we don't have a Diana as of yet, who would be, of course, the obvious target to become the focal point of so much augment power. Instead, we've got Smolder come in, who'd imagine will end up being our raid boss overall, and I don't know how well he's going to be able to carry the board if he becomes, our ultimate tank frontline as well as our primary damage dealer.
So I really want to see. Okay, so Squampy is alternating between the Nunu and the Smolder. However, I do want to see this 8 Bastion board get completed, simply because we all know that 8 Bastion has the two Bastion units that start in the backline, gain all of that defensive capability, and I want to see him, do that for his Zerath, because Zerath can cast even while Zonia's, even while stunned. It's really sad that we didn't see Zerath cast there towards the chrono. However, if he starts the cast during the chrono time stop, he can still finish it and deal quite a bit of damage. So Squampy has been given so much power to play for these bastions, but he's greeting so much of it.
Let's take stock of where we are coming into our next carousel. We have got the Elchonka coming through, so we can see there, it's going to be tossing out the big... Alright, so there we go. This is what Scompy, I think, has been holding off for a while. A big cash injection. This should unlock the possibility of reaching higher levels, but instead he's actually re-rolling to try and bring a little bit more power into the board. There's Morgana coming in. She certainly is going to be an excellent candidate to be a Bastion, especially with that Bloodthirster as well. I think Squampy may be a little bit worried about losing too much HP at this point. Will delay the Bastion 8, instead getting the stronger board online.
So, yeah, you have the Varus there, who is just sitting without without another blaster to help him out. So I want to see that get changed next round. Milio is already doing so much. You have the Morgana 2 already helping out, and Squampy, he now with that Morgana 2 does seem to have the board that is going to help him towards that victory. And that could be a Zerat too.
Yeah, you know how important these legendaries coming off the carousel are. Yeah, normally at 4-4, the chance of 2-star island would not be there, but it's absolutely front and center. Let's take a quick note about where we are coming to our next chunk round, though. It's here at table 1. We're again fighting for the tournament win overall. See, we can already see that players like Safachiro are very, very low on HP. We could be seeing them removed from the conversation very early on.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult to optimize your board if you haven't done that by now. Squampy finally levels up to until level 9. We see there on the other side, and we're seeing here Hampus has a very so Hampus has the fairy multi-striker board, but has also gone for a couple of preservers as well. So this is a very mixed board, but
Oh,
I think, yeah, the Diana 2 coming in, but I really do want to see some sort of direction from this board, because right now it just seems to be a little bit of a mishmash of everything.
I see Burso saying, yeah, getting some flashbacks from seeing the Bastions coming in here. I will note, if you're looking to make friends and influence people in the lobby, then picking up the Bastion 2 in a lobby where 2 other players want to run that Diana 2 is a way to draw a lot of negative attention your way, but Hampus doesn't care. You're right, it's not maybe the unit you would have been expecting, but a 2-star, you can't turn it down. We've got the Callista online, we've got most of the Rakan online as well. So I'm optimistic about Hampus' chances, but checking with Squampy. Remember, Squampy and MZ are our tournament leaders, and Squampy is in trouble, down to maybe even just a single life.
He is. However, one thing he has done counter is get the 8 Bastion online. He also has that Diana online. And one thing that I do want to point out is that he has only utilized one of his immunity emblems for those bastions. However, we are seeing the Zerat cast quite a lot. We are seeing the tankiness of all of these units, and the Zerat with the second cast should be able to delete a lot of the units on this board. And this is how you execute the 8 Bastion board properly. It's a little bit more volatile for Squampy because it is happening so late in the game. However, you're seeing already his labor coming to fruition.
And again, like, just because this doesn't come up a huge amount, and for people who haven't invested in this line, it's such an interesting effect, the 8 Bastion. You mentioned the invincibility coming for the backliners, functioning like a Edge of Night that is just proccing continuously. They will be completely ignored by the opposition until those 4 units die, which then removes that invincibility. It's such a weird effect, especially combined with you mentioned the Zhonya's in there. There's so much time for that Xerath to get in. Again, not targeted at all from the opening part of the round, then get those invincibility frames. You're probably getting 2 or 3 solid casts in.
Yeah, you really are. And are we going to see? Well, first of all, let's see what Hampus is going to do here. But he's slowly leveling up to 9, but I don't know if he does have the time for it, health wise. But I think we just saw Squampy going in for the Bastion emblem on the Xerath, and Squampy has 6 Xeraths online currently counter. So I don't know if he still has that champion duplicator, but we could just see a Xerath 3 from his end.
Well, we do see other players going for the Xerath as well, so that's gonna be tricky. On the other side, the trait tracker board we were talking about before did hit the big payout, which was the Arcana emblem, and it's good enough to give Hampus a loss, so we'll have to keep a close eye on how that develops longer term. Over on this side of things, from Squampy's side of things, the Bastion board, you noted that we did see a little bit of an item change up for the Xerath. He's going to be bringing in the Morellos as well for a little bit of a faster cast time. And as the 2-star Milio comes in, I think Squampy can make a solid claim for be running up the table and trying to finish this one with another first place.
He could be. So there are a couple of people who are contesting that Xerath. However, we have 6 Morganas and 6 Xeraths, and I do want to point out, Counter, that no one else is utilizing Morgana. So potentially we could see a 3-star Morgana from Squampy unless our players here start contesting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly for Squampy, he's been playing very close to the line economically for the whole game through, but it seems like he's going to be able to get away with it this time round. The ferry board on the other side surely doesn't measure up to all of these legendaries. It's certainly known as a board that is very good for top 4s, but top 1s, usually not the case. But looks to be that this time round, all of the defensive prowess is not going to quite... No, I eat my words immediately! I should have believed harder in Squampy Xerath.
You see their 97% chance of winning for Squampy. However, the Xerath on the first cast didn't hit the Callista even once. And so that was one of the things that had me worried really quite a bit for Squampy. However, Squampy is just built different, even though he doesn't have the augment, because that Xerath managed to cast and delete everyone on that board.
And as I think Ace is pointing out there, I believe we've got the Arcane Conduit letting the Arcana units get more items more quickly, which is, of course, absolutely amazing. I believe this is MZ we're seeing on the other side, I want to say, because the items look a little unfamiliar, with the contesting Bastion board. Currently, MZ in a pretty good spot. I believe around 18 HP left. A lot of our players on almost the same HP as each other. We'll see if the Xerath board can pull this one off again, because I suspect, once more, it's going to be very close.
It is going to be very close. However, this does seem to be a lot more one-sided in Hampus' favor. And will MZ get eliminated? No. However, a lot of people are dropping down more and down in the on this board, and Squampy has suddenly jumped up from 7th place to 3rd place. So this Xerath 2-8 Bastion board is doing the work for Squampy.
Again, remember, MZ and Squampy are our current tournament leaders on 15 points apiece. If either of them finish in 1st place, they are guaranteed to become our champion. In fact, probably in 2nd place, if the other one doesn't beat them, will be the case here as well. We're down to a very volatile end of final lobby here, where we can see MZ or Squampy getting knocked out in the next round. The Chonk comes and delivers us another spatula, but I wonder if our players will even be able to take advantage of that at this point.
I think unless someone has a spatula or another frying pan to help them out, it's not going to be likely. Counter. I saw something that is making me very scared.
Yeah, and
that is Anonymous 1 has hit a Briar 3.
Oh, wow. And we'll see it. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. We can see the power. We see the question mark pings are flooding here, and Hampus's heart is going to be sinking here on 13 points overall. You have to know that his chances beyond this juncture have just gone into mist. The first victim, but I'm sure not the last, of Hampus. A level 10 with a Briar 3 is absolutely crazy. We've got eliminations coming in like mad. MZ, one of our tournament frontrunners, is out, leaving out. Hampus out. We're down to our final 4, and with Squampy still staying alive. He is the best position to win the tournament if he can survive for just a little while longer.
So the thing that I want to see. So no one is contesting. No one is contesting Morgana. So I want to see Squampy try to go for that Morgana 3 to potentially help him out. But I think he's up against Anonymous. Yes. Oh, Squampy is going to be getting eliminated. And uh, by the hands of Anonymous, no less, who has now put himself, because of matchmaking, into a prime position to once again become the champion of the tournament.
That Briar is a menace, but yes, with a 2-point advantage for our front runners, the other players need to beat them by ideally 3 places, and that is what has happened there. As you see, Scompy taking a quick exit. Hopefully we've still got a POV. Yes, Hampus is sticking around. Thank you very much, Hampus, for lending us your vision for this last part of the game. So, you're right. With everyone else being 2 points behind, we will have a winner from our final 3. I believe they all came into this one on 13 points, so if my maths holds, and don't hold me to this, I believe from these 3, the person who comes in first place will be our tournament winner.
That you are 100% correct, Counter. And I do want to point out something, that Anonymous is also 2 smolders away from hitting a smolder 3.
Ah, jeez. When will this guy slow down and take a break, DG?
I don't think those words are in his vocabulary.
Of course, Som, who has been working real hard on the other side of things to try and put together this board, yeah, just on a whole different planet. We'll get knocked out in this round. Staffichiro knocked out as well. Anonymous one, multi-time champion, adds another notch to his belt. What an astonishing way to end out our Chunks tournament. Oh my gosh. We'll try and get Anonymous in here if we can to discuss exactly what makes Anonymous built different, but that was terrifying, DG.
So I have, a little bit of a question. At one point, do we just say Anonymous is banned so we can see a different person win a tournament?
I mean, I think we might at least change it to be Anonymous One's casual competition, because much like, going back in the day, Improbable Blob, she came in, of course, and dominated the early days of the competition and became the player to beat. But I think we are going to need to go back and I suspect find a new title to just reflect how ludicrously good Anonymous One has been at these competitions, and astounding stuff. We are receiving what Anonymous is going to be coming and joining us, so I'm going to drag Anonymous One up into our channel, hopefully. Gosh, Discord is not very friendly in that respect. Let's see if I can make that a little easier myself. There we go. Anonymous One, welcome to the stream, Anonymous. I think... Oh, sorry, my apologies. Anonymous is going to be joining us in just a moment, so we'll have a chance to take the word. Before we do, DG, let's just get a few orders of business out of the way. Let's first of all drop in all of our socials from today. So if you'd like to see more of Deadly Ghost, you can see DG's link in there at the moment, all over on Blue Sky, which of course a lot of people are heading across to at the moment. We've also got Alex, our producer, who is also our observer, also our admin, the hardest working producer in all of esports. It's hard to know for sure, but I think Alex has definitely put out a solid enough attempt. But let's have a word with Anonymous One, our multi-time tournament winner. Anonymous One, welcome to the stream. What an astonishing showing you've given for us here today. I've got to ask the question, how do you do it again and again and again?
I spam normals. I spam like 10 games of normals and just practice.
So we have seen the secret code.
Sorry, I just want to clarify there. So you came into this one being a practice Chunks Treasure player.
Oh, for this? Oh yeah, that too. I mean, I played like a few games of this with my friends, but I thought you were asking for normal tournaments. I usually just spam normals, avoid rank because it's stressful, and then just prepare as much as possible. But for Chongs, you know, I just troll my friends. We play a few games together, just troll each other, take each other's champions. That's how you prepare for every tournament.
Absolutely.
Well, it does seem to be working for you. So I do have a small question, Anonymous. At this point, would you be open to taking a point negative to give the other people a chance?
Sure.
That's very gracious of you. I don't know if that will be an official stance at this point, but I suppose, well, it's entirely up to you, Anonymous One, how you want to proceed going forwards. But, you know, astonishing stuff. You know, again, congratulations on an incredibly well-played tournament. Coming into that final game, you know, you were behind by a couple of points there. How confident were you feeling about becoming, you know, I have to figure out how many times you've been a champion now for sure and announce that for certain, but how confident were you feeling about being able to take home another cup for yourself?
Well, after I saw the portal, which was Make 'em Cook, so we get 2 spats. I got Pan and the spat, and then I got Briar. I knew as long as I got a spat from Carousel or an emblem from Augments, I'll be good. I'll have Asia Shifter, and I'll be able to win streak. And I ensured that I will be below 50 HP. I mean, so I kept feeding my Briar so that I could have versus I can pick on Carousel. And then I kept feeding Briar until I was below 50 HP so that you can trigger Chong's, blessing.
Oh, of course. Very smart indeed.
No.
GG, we didn't even think of that.
And then after
So
that...
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
No, I certainly was going to add to that, because you are on a win streak, but you're still feeding Briar, so you still have your first pick of items, and especially because we saw a pan and the spatula being dropped on one of the carousels, so I think you utilized it very efficiently and very nicely. So I had a question that was just going to be: do you think that if it hadn't been the pan drop from Carousel, that you could have still gotten to 8 Shapeshifter and 3-star Briar?
Or was a pan as well, so you could. Obviously you don't want to fit in Jace, but without the second pan, yeah, you would have to put in Jace or hope for an emblem on Augments.
Well, Anonymous, again, congratulations on your incredible win. I would say at this point, have a think about what title you would like for yourself. I'll give you the ability, within reason, to choose whatever title you please, because I want to recognize the fact that you are, you've done an incredible job here. So, I guess the last thing before we let you go is firstly, anyone you'd like to shout out, and secondly, any message you have for the other players here in Counters Casual Competition.
I mean, I want to end humble, so for the other casual competition, get good. But in terms of recognition, I want to recognize all of Lobby 7, Blonde Unicorn, Hydropat, Yukirena. Also, I want to recognize Epichiro. He's been a good friend.
Aww. Honestly,
except for the duos tournament.
Yes, DG's still trying to stir the drama there, but thank you, Anonymous One, for leaving us on such a heartwarming note. We're going to just wrap up things now, but thank you so much for coming and talking to us. Hopefully, we'll see plenty more tournament wins from you in the future. And of course, we'll see what Anonymous One decides to cook up for themselves in terms of custom titles to reflect the level of glory they have achieved. For now, though, we've got one more duty to dispatch, or I guess a couple more duties to dispatch before we're done here today. Of course, we'll be raiding off in a little minute to another channel, but we've still got our final results to kind of formally announce, and then the giveaway coming through. So, of course, Anonymous One, we already announced, was our ultimate winner, but Blonde Unicorn, we saw them in the chat, being a little salty to fall slightly short, and we had a 3-way tie for second place. DG. That's wild.
I mean, it does look like Blonde Unicorn had a hell of a game number 3. A little dropped the ball just a little bit within that game number 2, but still getting to that second place. And also being the only player in the tournament to get 2 first places. So I commend Blonde Unicorn for that one. And clearly a strong performance outside of Anonymous One with his usual top 2 placement.
Yeah, no, that's a really good shout on Blonde Unicorn, so congratulations to him for managing to pull off a very, very strong performance. And yes, and almost a sneak up and scoop up the top place. Commiserations, of course, to our players coming into that one. NZ and Scrompy in particular coming in so strong, but getting pipped at the post there. We recognise a very, very strongly played one, honestly, across so many of our players here today. But our final thing to do is, while Anonymous One and Blonde Unicorn have secured their spots, so I'm going to start pinging people in the chat for this. We do have our final giveaway to get done. So we have 3 players who are random players from the competition. We're also going to add in, for today only, a special additional 4th random prize, which will be for out of the remaining unprized players who provided streams for today, as a way of thanking them for their salvaging of today's broadcast, which otherwise would not have been able to go ahead in any capacity. So we'll be heading across to our wheel of names. There we are. Wonderful. So this is from all of the remaining players in the competition. It's just a limit of 1 prize per player overall. So again, from our streamers later on, they will not be eligible for a second prize, but we'll see how it goes. DG, would you mind? Oh, all right, we're going straight into our first one. We want to get started easy. And wait, Blonde Unicorn should not be in this list. He came in second place, so
No.
let's remove him and re-roll that one. So Blonde Unicorn, there we go. We recognise you twice, but you can only win once per tournament. It's going to be Som who came in third place, who will be our first random winner. So congratulations, Som. I'll get you tagged up on here. Again, please do add me counterfeit hashtag EUS. I'll note that in the announcement as well. But if my friends list is full, please do ping me and I'll clear out some people. Right, this time, DG, would you mind counting us in for our second random winner?
Okay, so I'm going to try and not peek my mic here and go for the safe option. Champions, we're getting ready to roll down in 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and it's Snoop. Congratulations. We did see Snoop before, and of course Snoop is one of the players we recognise for being one of our stream providers. So thank you again, Snoop, for doing so. Alright, that means we've got 1 more left to go, and I'll have to dig into my memory banks for... Let's see, so we've already had the kind of the monster voice, so I guess we'll go the other way and go for a high-pitched voice. So let's have our last giveaway winner in 3, 2, 1, Nuff! Who's it going to be? Well, not our last one, I suppose, but our nearly last one. It's going to be Fad. It's not a fad, it's here for real. Congratulations, Fad. There we go, we've got you tagged up as well. And yes, just to keep you on your toes, Alex, if you wouldn't mind grabbing these, the collated streams of the people who have streamed here today, and we'll chuck them in for one last giveaway. So again, I believe Snoop was one of those who was streaming, so won't be eligible for a second prize here, but... alright, okay, nice, we're already set up. In that case, DG, would you mind digging into the City Voices one more time to thank our streamers for saving the broadcast here today?
Champions, we're getting rolling down in 3, 2, 1.
Oh boy! Who is the most worthy? Could it be the Bagman? It is! Congratulations, Bag, on your win as well. So, Let's see. Bad Keitha. Not showing up. Let's try Keitha. There we go. Keitha is there. Alright, so I'll sort that all out in a minute. Again, please do add me on EUS on the counterfeit hashtag EUS. And I'll get your prizes sent out in the next week or so. I've been trying to find a good person for us to head across to. And I think I found a promising candidate. Mulana, this is an 18 plus stream coming in, so be aware this may be a streamer who uses more mature language. I don't think there's anything that outrageous from what I can see from a quick look, but please do let them know about the tournament, which the next one will be coming up on, let's see, on the 30th of November. For now though, let's go and check out Milana. And thank you guys for coming and watching us. We'll see you in slightly less than 2 weeks' time, as of course we will be on set 13 for the next competition. We'll see you guys then.